It's hard to ignore a $224 charge just for using an electrical outlet, or a $50 penalty for moving a minibar item. What used to be a spontaneous escape has turned into a spreadsheet of hidden fees and sticker shock. As costs spiral and transparency collapses, Las Vegas is rapidly alienating the very visitors it once relied on. The sense of being constantly overcharged, whether for a bland $60 hamburger or an unexpected convenience fee, has made the experience feel less like leisure and more like a financial ambush.
Don't get fooled by the label. Subscribe now to uncover what's really behind your favorite brands, and get the truth big food doesn't want you to see.
For many, the trust is gone, and so is the desire to return. Beneath the glitz, a deeper crisis is unfolding. A broken business model, policy missteps, and mounting political tensions are gutting Las Vegas's appeal, while Latin American destinations surge ahead with smarter, more welcoming strategies. As casino revenues plummet and international travelers vanish, especially from once loyal markets like Canada, America's tourism decline grows more visible. The gamble on profit-maximizing tactics backfired, and with recovery forecasts stretching to 2029 or beyond, the damage might already be done. This is more than just a Vegas problem. It's a cautionary collapse for any destination that forgets the cost of loyalty. Las Vegas used to be a no-brainer. It was a place you went to escape reality, blow off steam, and soak in the neon dream. But now, something's changed, and not for the better. People aren't just leaving disappointed. They're leaving angry, fed up, feeling scammed. And it's not just anecdotal. The numbers are brutal. Tourism is down. Repeat visits are down. International arrivals are tanking. What used to be the crown jewel of American tourism has become a cautionary tale, one built on overpriced coffee, deceptive pricing, and bad policy. Let's start with what ticks people off the most: cost. A $9.75 cup of coffee. A $60 hamburger with no special ingredients. That's not indulgence. That's insult. It's not just premium pricing. It's predatory. And it's not confined to high-end spots. Budget travelers are being squeezed too, with resort fees, parking charges, and even absurd penalties like $224 for using an electrical outlet or $50 a day for unplugging a minibar. This isn't creative business. It's legalized exploitation, and travelers have caught on. There's a reason people are walking away from Vegas with their wallets lighter and their trust shattered. The model has shifted from hospitality to hustle. Guests no longer feel like they're being welcomed. They feel like they're being ambushed. And that shift is showing in numbers. Visitors aren't coming back. Domestic traffic is falling. International arrivals, especially from Canada, have plunged by 80%. 80%. That's not a dip. That's collapse. What used to be a carefree escape has turned into a minefield of hidden costs and fine print. You can't sit, walk, eat, or breathe without checking whether there's a fee attached. That sense of constantly being on guard is exactly what destroys trust in a destination. People don't come to Vegas to feel stressed. They come to let go. But now, it's stress on arrival, stress during, and sticker shock on departure. And it's not just about money. There's a broader breakdown happening. Economic, political, cultural. Vegas is undergoing an identity crisis. The shift away from gambling as the city's core revenue engine was supposed to be a bold evolution. Retail, concerts, events, fine dining. That was the promise. But here's the problem. When the experience itself becomes unaffordable and unwelcoming, the pivot fails. Casinos are struggling. Massive developments like Resorts World are bleeding millions every day. Restaurant foot traffic is down. Entertainment venues are scaling back. Layoffs are rising. These aren't just bad quarters. They're structural failures. And the cause isn't complicated. Consumers feel mistreated, manipulated, and priced out. International visitors once made up a significant chunk of Las Vegas tourism. But now, many are staying away. The reasons are clear. Tariffs, travel bans, increased visa fees, aggressive immigration enforcement add to that growing diplomatic tensions, especially with Canada, and what you get is a massive drop in international tourism. Warnings from foreign governments about traveling to the U.S. don't help either. And these aren't fringe advisories. They're official. They carry weight. They scare people off. Safety concerns and immigration horror stories are spreading fast. People aren't just worried about overpaying for a hotel room. They're worried about getting detained, mistreated, or caught up in red tape. These aren't irrational fears. They're based on real experiences. And they're pushing people to rethink their travel plans entirely. And guess who's benefiting? Latin America. Countries like Mexico, Brazil, and others are seeing a surge in tourism, and they're earning it. They're not just opening their arms. They're opening their wallets, investing heavily in infrastructure, creating competitive packages, and actively targeting displaced U.S.-bound tourists. Mexico alone has drawn nearly 1.7 million Canadian tourists, and the number's climbing. They saw an opportunity and moved fast. While the U.S. tightens borders and pads invoices, Latin America is doing the opposite. Welcoming, simplifying, and adapting. Resorts are booming. Flights are increasing. Investments are pouring in. The market is shifting and fast. The warning signs for Las Vegas and for the broader U.S. tourism industry couldn't be clearer. Sharp policy decisions, from dismantling tourism boards to tightening immigration laws, are directly sabotaging what used to be one of the most successful service economies on the planet. You don't attract global loyalty with tariffs and suspicion. You do it with fairness, safety, and respect. And here's where it gets even more serious. Recovery isn't just slow. It's barely even started. Forecasts show that the U.S. tourism industry might not recover until 2029. That's half a decade away. And even then, there's no guarantee Vegas will reclaim its old position. Market share is already shifting globally, and countries that act now will own the next era of tourism. Consumer behavior is changing too. Generation Z isn't chasing nightclubs and overpriced buffets. They're looking for authenticity, wellness, culture, and nature. They want value. They want transparency. They want something real. But Vegas still clings to an outdated model, one built for baby boomers, not digital natives. If the industry doesn't pivot, if pricing doesn't become fair, if policies don't adapt, this slide won't stop. It'll accelerate. The disconnect between what Vegas offers and what consumers want is growing wider every day. It's not just about bad marketing or a tough quarter. It's a strategic failure. There's a critical lesson here for any service-based economy. When you abuse trust, when you push prices beyond reason, when you ignore customer feedback, you don't just risk losing business. You risk losing relevance. Vegas was built on risk. But today, the biggest gamble isn't at the tables. It's in the boardrooms, where short-term greed is being chosen over long-term vision. And unless that changes, the decline won't be temporary. It'll be permanent. For decades, Las Vegas sold itself as the escape, the playground, the American dream in neon. But now, it's starting to feel more like a trap, a place where the only certainty is that you'll leave lighter, in pocket, in patience, and in trust. There's still time to fix it, but that means confronting the reality, not spinning the narrative. That means leadership, not loopholes. Because once tourists walk away and find new destinations, it's hard, very hard, to get them back. If this breakdown of trust, this collapse of affordability, and this unraveling of a once great destination hits a nerve, speak up, like this video, share it with anyone planning a trip, drop your thoughts in the comments, and hit subscribe to stay with us as we keep holding the tourism industry accountable. The story of Las Vegas is no longer one of lights, luck, and luxury. It's a story of excess gone unchecked, of greed dressed up as glamour, of a tourism model that turned its back on the very people who made it thrive, regular travelers. And that betrayal is hitting home. You can feel it in every overpriced drink, every extra charge slapped on a bill, every hotel receipt that reads like a legal trap. Las Vegas has turned a vacation into a financial ambush, and people are done. The average traveler is smarter now. They check reviews. They watch pricing breakdowns. They follow travel blogs that warn them, don't get fleeced. The old days when Las Vegas could nickel and dime you under the glow of slot machines without pushback are over. The city underestimated just how fast the consumer landscape could change. Let's be blunt. Gouging your guests isn't a business model. It's a slow motion collapse. When the default feeling in a city is I'm being ripped off, that city has a problem. And that problem has metastasized in Vegas. What used to be a town of indulgent pricing, where people paid more for the experience, is now a town of predatory pricing, where people are paying more just to be left alone. Want to keep your minibar untouched? That's $50 a day. Plug in your laptop? $224 for the outlet. That's not quirky or funny anymore. It's offensive. And travelers are voting with their wallets. The numbers don't lie. Las Vegas has been bleeding tourists, especially Canadians, who used to flock to the Strip by the millions. Their visits have collapsed, down 80%. That's catastrophic. It's not just a shift, it's an abandonment. And the reasons go far beyond room rates. Canadians, like many international travelers, are increasingly turned off by America's political climate. Travel bans, tariffs, border tensions, visa hikes add to the growing fear around immigration enforcement. And it's no longer about whether Vegas is fun. It's about whether Vegas, and by extension the U.S., is worth the risk. Foreign governments have begun issuing advisories. These are formal warnings telling their citizens to be cautious when entering the United States. That level of damage doesn't come from bad weather or random incidents. It comes from policy failure. It comes from years of being unwelcoming, overpriced, and unsafe. And that's what shifted. The U.S. and Vegas in particular used to be seen as bold, energetic, worth the splurge. Now, it's seen as unpredictable, unfriendly, and overpriced. And while the U.S. tourism sector is trying to pretend it's just a post-pandemic lag, the deeper truth is that trust has been broken. Meanwhile, countries like Mexico are stepping up. Brazil, Colombia, Costa Rica, they're all investing in infrastructure, marketing campaigns, and streamlined visa processes. Their resorts are booming. Their flights are full. Their beaches are busy. Why? Because they're offering travelers something Vegas no longer does: value and respect. Mexico alone has surged ahead with over 1.7 million Canadian tourists, capitalizing on every mistake the U.S. makes. These aren't just beach vacations. These are long-term shifts in loyalty. Once travelers feel respected somewhere else, they rarely come back to a place where they were treated like walking ATMs. Vegas tried to pivot by embracing non-gambling revenue, retail, shows, mega events. But here's the failure. The foundation crumbled before the transition took root. You can't build a new future on a broken business model, especially not when your new pitch, concerts, shopping, dining, is priced for oligarchs and marketed to people with shrinking paychecks. So now Vegas sits in limbo. The gamblers are gone. The international tourists are gone. Younger travelers, Gen Z in particular, aren't interested. They're chasing nature, wellness, authenticity, and value. And Las Vegas, right now, offers none of that. It still clings to a 1990s playbook. The loudest lights, the biggest performers, the flashiest restaurants. But those aren't drawing in the crowds anymore. Especially not when those concerts are $400 a ticket and that flashy restaurant adds 40% in fees before you even order. There's no mistake that the industry tried to adapt, but it failed to listen. It failed to ask the most important question. What do travelers want now? They want honesty. They want clarity in pricing. They want experiences that don't feel rigged. And above all, they want to feel welcome, not extracted. Vegas offers the opposite. The entire visitor experience has become transactional in the worst way. Not just expensive, but opaque, erratic, and exhausting. Guests leave not recharged, but drained, and not just financially. The result? Casino floors are emptier. Big-name shows are scaling back. High-end restaurants have slashed staff. Layoffs are rising. Developers are hitting pause on megaprojects. The dream is dimming. Projections don't offer much hope. Economists warn that recovery for the American tourism sector may not arrive until 2029. That's not around the corner. That's years away, and that's if everything goes right starting now. And it won't, because nothing about the current trajectory suggests Las Vegas is willing to course correct. That's the hardest truth. Vegas could turn this around, but it would mean dismantling the very systems it built to squeeze every dime from every guest. It would mean removing hidden fees, being honest with pricing, listening to feedback. It would mean treating guests like people again, not prey. But when you spend decades designing a model based on margin over meaning, changing course isn't easy. And that's why this city, once a monument to reinvention, now finds itself stuck. And what's happening in Vegas is just a symptom of a wider disease. The American tourism model is rotting from the inside. Bad policy, short-sighted profit grabs, hostile immigration practices. It's all leading to one inevitable outcome, decline. Because once you lose a traveler's trust, no amount of advertising can win it back. Not a new show, not a shiny resort, not a celebrity endorsement. Trust takes years to build and seconds to destroy. Vegas destroyed it. For travelers today, there are better, cheaper, safer, and more respectful options. And they're voting with their passports. They're choosing Latin America. They're choosing countries that want them there. That don't turn a vacation into a war of fees. That don't make them feel small. So ask yourself, why pay more for less? Why deal with insult pricing, dodgy policies, and growing political friction when you can go elsewhere and be treated like a guest, not a target? That's the real story here. Vegas isn't just losing tourists. It's losing relevance. And unless radical reform happens fast, what was once the most iconic destination in the U.S. will be remembered not for its highs, but for how spectacularly it crashed. There was a time when saying, "I'm going to Vegas" meant excitement. It meant something. It meant you were about to enter a world unlike any other, where everything was larger than life, indulgent, electric. But now, that phrase is different. Now it's followed by eye rolls, cautionary tales, and frustrated sighs. Good luck not getting ripped off. They say, hope you don't get charged for breathing. Because that's what Las Vegas has become, an overpriced, overregulated, overpromised experience that delivers far less than it charges. Let's be real. The soul of Vegas was never just about money. It was about freedom. The freedom to splurge if you wanted to gamble a little, eat big, live loud. That's what kept people coming back, again and again. But now, that freedom's been replaced by a price tag on every breath you take. The bait-and-switch economy has taken over. One where advertised prices mean nothing, and surprise fees lurk behind every hotel door, every restaurant bill, every amenity. And this isn't paranoia, it's the playbook. Resort fees, energy surcharges, convenience charges, parking fees, room service delivery fees, plus mandatory tips. You're paying to not use things. Want to unplug your minibar because you brought your own bottle of water? That's $50. Want to use a standard wall outlet in your room? You guessed it. Another triple-digit charge. There's nothing luxurious about that. There's nothing innovative. It's a grift. And people are waking up. Across the board, the data is clear. Domestic tourists are choosing other cities. International tourists are choosing other countries. And not just because of prices, but because of how Vegas makes them feel. Like marks, not guests. You know who isn't making people feel that way? Places like Mexico, Costa Rica, and Brazil. Latin American countries are seizing the moment. They've seen how the U.S. is fumbling the ball and they're sprinting ahead, building better airports, streamlining visa processes, investing in tourism infrastructure, and above all, respecting the traveler. While Vegas builds more $500 a night rooms with $60 breakfasts, Cancun build high-speed rail to connect eco parks and beach towns. While the U.S. hikes visa fees and tightens entry policies, Colombia launches digital nomad visas. They're listening. Vegas? Still squeezing. And let's not overlook the generational shift. Millennials were the last group that tolerated Vegas in its old form. Boozy clubs, overpriced hotel rooms, $40 covers to stand next to a celebrity DJ. But Gen Z? They're not interested. They want wellness. They want sustainability. They want unique experiences, not $300 bottle service and synthetic neon vibes. And Vegas is failing them completely. The city didn't just miss the memo. It ignored it. What's worse, instead of innovating, it doubled down on the same broken model. Events, concerts, UFC fights, Formula One, sure, they draw headlines. But ask anyone who's attended recently. Traffic, chaos. Hotel rates jacked up 300%. Restaurants with 6-hour waits. $20 bottles of water. Is that what a good time looks like? Even the iconic casinos, the last stronghold of Vegas mystique, are struggling. Younger generations don't gamble like their parents did. They're not drawn to slot machines or blackjack tables. They want experiences that matter. Cultural, adventurous, real. But instead of evolving, the casino industry watched the numbers fall and responded with more fees. And here's the kicker. Vegas had every chance to pivot. It had the infrastructure, the brand, the captive audience. But it chose profits over people. It chose exploitation over evolution. The consequences are here, and they're severe. Tourism-dependent businesses are hurting. Layoffs are mounting. Giant resorts like Resorts World are bleeding millions daily. Smaller businesses can't survive on shrinking foot traffic and one-time visitors. And make no mistake, that's what Vegas is now, one-time visitors. Because once someone sees the final total on their trip, once they feel conned, they don't come back. Worse still is the broader national impact. Las Vegas was supposed to be the flagship, America's tourism capital. But now it's a symbol of decline, a reflection of how bad policy, greed, and arrogance can destroy even the strongest brands. Tariffs and travel bans pushed international tourists away. Immigration crackdowns made people afraid to come. Visa hikes priced out casual travelers. And Vegas just kept stacking fees on top of it all, thinking the brand alone would carry the weight. It won't. The U.S. tourism industry is now projected to take years to recover. Some forecasts say not until 2029. That's not just lost revenue. That's lost reputation, lost jobs, lost relevance. In the meantime, Latin American countries are not waiting. They're building, growing, learning from every mistake Vegas is making. And here's the hardest truth of all. The tourists aren't coming back just because you missed them. You have to earn them back. That means cleaning house, removing the fees, fixing the pricing models, actually listening to feedback, respecting people's time, money, and trust. Because trust, once broken, doesn't heal on its own. Travelers have options now. They can go where they're treated fairly, where prices are upfront, where culture isn't manufactured, where hospitality actually means something. And as long as those options exist, Vegas cannot afford to keep doing what it's doing. This should be the moment of reckoning, the moment where the industry stops blaming inflation, stops blaming the pandemic, and starts looking inward. The policies, the pricing, the experience. Because if the people feel used, they will walk away. And right now they are. They're going to Tulum, to Medellin, to the beaches of Bahia, to places that want them, that welcome them, that don't see them as walking wallets. Vegas was once a global destination because it understood the thrill of escape. But now, it's just another overpriced city with nothing to show for its costs. And that's a tragedy, not just for Vegas, but for what it says about the state of American tourism. It didn't have to be this way. It still doesn't. But change isn't about slogans. It's about leadership, transparency, and humility to admit when you've pushed too far. If you've been to Vegas recently, you already know how far things have fallen. If you're considering going, you deserve to know exactly what you're stepping into. If this breakdown, this decline, this blatant exploitation feels familiar, speak out. Share this video. Like it. Comment with your experience or where you went instead. And subscribe to stay informed as we keep unpacking how destinations succeed and how they fail when they stop listening.